What I realized in that moment, and I still get goosebumps because I went upstairs and I looked at my girls who were like peacefully sleeping in their beds, and I just realized I am getting fired from my own life. And if I don't change something, these girls one day are going to fire me from theirs.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 357 of the Business Development Podcast. And today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Michèle Hecken to the show. Michèle is an entrepreneur, executive advisor, international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and the founder of The Art of Offboarding. After building Alpha Transitions from the ground up into a rapidly growing global business serving Fortune 500 companies and many of the world's top law firms, she achieved what many entrepreneurs only dream about, creating a company that could thrive without her before successfully exiting the business. Today, she works with CEOs and high-performing leaders around the world, helping them build organizations that create more freedom, greater impact, and lasting value. From immigrating to Canada with a young family to building a business that eventually required just a handful of hours each week, Michèle's journey is a masterclass in leadership, systems, mindset, and designing a life with intention. Her philosophy is both simple and profound. Your business should serve your life, not the other way around. Because the greatest promotion a leader will ever receive is the day they no longer are required to be in every room. Michèle, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on our stage today.
Kelly, thank you. I am blushing. It's really always, yes, everything is true, but when you hear it read back to you like that in such a beautiful way, you just made my day. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the Business Development Podcast. I'm excited for our conversation.
Oh, me too. And I love the idea of the art of offboarding. I know when we'd connected for the first time and you were kind of explaining that you are supposed to find a way to get out of here.
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow, you know what? Michèle might be onto something here. But not only that, it was the fact that when we talked for the first time and you were explaining to me that, obviously as a young parent myself, you came to Canada and you had to figure out how to be a parent and be an entrepreneur at the same time. And a lot of that required you to work remotely long before working remotely was even considered a thing. You were at this 2 decades before anybody even considered it to be cool.
That is really true, Kelly. I started my business with a fax machine, right, in 1993, and only big companies did business globally. Everybody told me I was nuts. Now, in the localization and translation industry itself, I was not the only one. This was absolutely normal. But for everybody else, it just sounded absolutely absurd.
Yeah, wow. I can't wait to dig into that with you today. Before we do, take us back to the beginning, Michèle. Who is Michèle Hecken? How did you end up on this path?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I ask myself that every morning. Who is Michèle Hecken and what is my intention today? My story is global from the start. So I was born in Canada. My dad was German, my mom Canadian. So from when I was 2 years old, we changed countries. We lived in Germany, we lived in Canada, we lived in Germany. So I was blessed to have grown up to speak both English and German fluently. because I was exposed and I had a lot of friends and family. So that was great. And then I had a translation company. And what's funny about this is because I'm also an artist and I studied law, which kind of helped me with the translation. But really, when I was 2.5 years old, actually pretty much exactly the same age as my little granddaughter is now, my mom, who's Canadian, I'd go shopping with her in the grocery stores, but she didn't speak any German. So I was translating for my mom at 3, telling people what she wanted. So, when you look at who is Michèle, I guess I was born with the translation, something in my blood.
Yeah.
And so then when I went to university, I also translated the book, which was really kind of cool. It used to be, and I didn't grow up here at that time, and you're too young, but it was called Quantum Leap, and it was a TV series.
Okay.
And basically like Back into the Future, something like that, Quantum Leap. And I translated that book from English into German because the TV series was coming to Germany. So just some fun little anecdotes while I was in university. And then I started doing translations for one client. My kids were both born in Germany, got married in Germany. And then in 93, moved to Canada with one client and a fax machine. Pre-internet. I mean, we don't even think about that anymore, right? This is pre-internet.
Yeah.
And I guess a dream, right? It's like, I'm going to keep doing this. And so what was really cool and what I now call after Seth Godin, my purple cow, was that back in the day, 92, 93, translators, if they used a computer, they would print it out and mail by snail mail the translation to their client, or they'd actually still type it on a typewriter just to set the scene.
Yeah.
So now translation's always an afterthought. So I was now 8 hours behind. So my proposition to my one client that I had at the time was, this is great. Fax me your translation at 5 p.m. When you go home, that's when I get up and start working. And the next day you'll come in and your translation will be there. And that just blew up. Nobody was doing that. I had a real unique value proposition for my clients because it's always an afterthought. It's urgent. And I could bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And so it grew from there. And before I knew it, I was translating 20 hours a day because everybody wanted this convenience, but it was only me. Right. And when we had moved to Canada, my kids were 2 and 3 years old. Again, I'm just realizing the synchronicity of timing here, having my granddaughter at that same age. But so I was working 20-hour days and I was exhausted. Bedtime stories was my husband, way too many takeouts. And I was just like so tired. And I was like, I don't know, 25, 26.
Yeah.
Nobody do the math. Otherwise I'm going to say it's 12. But anyways, so I'm doing that and I'm just tired, but I cannot stop because everything depends on me.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I remember this one distinct experience, if you want me to share that story,
Please.
Where I was up till about 2 a.m. finishing the translation. I needed to get it to my client. And of course, I did have to print it out and then put it in the fax machine, wait for the confirmation. Like nothing was instant.
Yeah.
So I'm like waiting. I'm tired. I go check my answering machine. The first beep is my hairdresser, who's really mad at me and basically fires me as a client because I forgot that I had a hair appointment and I didn't show up. The next one is my doctor, who said, I know you're new, but I have a wait list for new patients. You can't just not show up. And it's not like I was doing it on purpose, but this 40 feet long paper snake that showed up with the fax machine in my office just dictated my day.
Yes.
I was an absolute slave to whatever came in on that fax machine that day.
Yeah.
And then the third message was my one new friend that I had made in the new country, and she was wondering if I was still alive. And what I realized in that moment, and I still get goosebumps because I went upstairs and I looked at my girls who were like peacefully sleeping in their beds, and I just realized I am getting fired from my own life.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't change something, these girls one day are going to fire me from theirs because I will not have been there.
Oh my gosh, that's so profound. You're either fired from your job or you're fired from your life. Take your pick. Hey, rock stars, quick pause here. If you're anything like me, you've probably dreamed about owning your own business most of your life. The Revolution hybrid vacuum from Hypervac Technologies is a portable duct cleaning system that fits right in the back of your truck or van, giving you a real opportunity to launch your own duct cleaning business starting at under 7,000 Canadian dollars. Visit www.hypervac.com to learn more. Thanks, Hypervac. Let's get back to the show.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And I still have goosebumps when I think about it. And, when we talk about our why or our driver, that was my North Star. And at that time, people, like I said, I was in my mid-20s and people were like, oh, that's so nice that you're doing something on the side while you're being a mom. But, just so you know, the business isn't really going to grow like that. You have to put all your time into it. And by the way, if you do that, you're going to be a terrible mom. That's what I was told.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the only woman who was told that. I'm not the only young person who has been told that.
No.
And so luckily I'm stubborn. So I'm like, let's see. Hold my beer.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I made a decision. I'm like, I am not going to allow this to happen. I'm going to design my life with my kids and with my business differently. And I do believe that it's possible to have both.
Yeah. Yeah. I know for me, it's one of the things that I've struggled with, right? Like I'm quite ambitious. I run 2 podcasts, not just this one. I have an online community. I still do business development retainers. Like I still do coaching. I'm very spread out. And one of the things that I'm worried about is that my ambition might get in the way of me becoming a great father. And I love my kids too. And I want to be part of their life and I want to do more fun things. And I know I've struggled with it and I've tried to find coherence along the way.
It's very interesting because there is a crossover, right? I hate the word work-life balance.
Oh, bullshit. It doesn't exist.
Thank you. I'll rant on that later, but
Yeah.
I just want to get to the point that you just made. What you just said is really profound, and I want to pick this up for your listeners too, because we're going to talk about offboarding. We're going to talk about how to build a business that runs without you.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about how to build a family that runs without you, but there's truth in both of those things. Because when I run a business, I can't be doing everything or it won't scale.
Yeah.
Then I just have a job that pays myself. Let's be honest, right? And in a family, you also cannot do everything yourself. I mean, You do, especially as a single mom or as a single dad or a single parent. Let's use the right terminology. And you do, right? But there are certain things that I think both in business and in your private life, when we think about offboarding, it's about the quality of the time that we're spending.
Yes.
And having ambition is also the culture that you have in your home or being creative and having a purpose and a goal. That's a culture. And I just want to pick that up because what you said is like we often feel that, I need to spend more time with my kids. And yes, of course, that's great. But also, let's be honest, who loves spending 24/7 with kids day in and day out? I mean, people do that. But when you're a driven entrepreneur, it's really hard. And I don't say that those people don't love their kids any less.
Yeah.
So it's about the time that we spend with our kids, not how much. And the same is true for your business. So if you're beating yourself up, I don't think you are, but if any listeners are finding this dilemma, it really is about the intention and the purposefulness and being present in your business and with your kids.
Yes. Thank you for that. No, I've definitely struggled with that side of it and had a lot of questions of, am I doing the right thing? Should I not just maybe go back to work so that I have more time with them? Those questions have absolutely gone through my brain over and over and over again. And I know that every entrepreneur listening right now that has children has probably struggled with it at least at one point.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely sure. And professional women as well, or female entrepreneurs. And then, of course, sometimes not to play into that, but as a single parent, it's so much harder because you don't have that support, right? Mom or dad or whatever, it doesn't matter.
I couldn't imagine doing this stuff without Shelby. I couldn't even imagine. And, I like how you talked about it too. Like she's been on mat leave for the last couple of years, basically. There was a little break in between, but it was very short. And like, I feel for you because, you mentioned being around kids 24/7. I see how hard that is on her.
Yes, it is hard.
Right.
It is hard, right? And so, again, I think in general, we need to give ourselves grace in business, grace in life, and focus on what really matters, what's going to be important, right? And so I think that for business as well, and focusing on what am I doing in this business? How am I serving my team? And where's my value and where's my superpower? Same as a dad. I'm sure you have some amazing dad superpowers that other dads don't have. In fact, I know you do. So focus on that.
Yeah, it's like focus on the things that are good, that are making a difference, that are unique to you. I love it. I want to continue the story though, because I think the meat and potatoes, the very important lessons are right around the corner.
They are.
So you're staring at an 8-foot-long fax machine monster. You're recognizing that you're exhausted. You haven't had the time with your kids that you wanted. And now you're questioning, am I on the right path? What happened next?
Well, what happened next is that I just believed I didn't have to choose. I just believed with my core that I could have both. And there was some necessity as well. I needed to make money also because we were new to the country, right? My husband was new to the country. So we had to hustle, right? And so the difficulty was not really such a difficulty for me because my priority was, I want both. And so how do I do that? And instead of looking at being mom as a full-time job for me and looking at business as a full-time job for me, I asked, okay, how do I do both of these things well, given my natural talents and my superpowers, and like, what do I do well? And so for the business part, and let's stick with the business part because I think it's just going to go down too many weird alleys if I keep this analogy, this dual path out, but let's just stick to business for now.
Okay.
I'm sure your listeners can spin this out to different analogies in different parts of life.
Sure.
Which will be probably my next book where I'm taking this offboarding principle. So anyways, I decided I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, okay, I need to train people to do what I do. Now, and I'm sure there's a lot of business owners out there listening, especially service businesses, where we think, oh, but the client hired me and I own the relationship with the client and I built this. And in my case, it's like they like my translation, right? There's nobody in the world who can do it like me. And like, what a silly notion. There's millions of translators in the world, and I'm sure hundreds, thousands of them were better than me. But no, I was afraid that the client would leave if the translation wasn't from me.
Yeah.
So I trained the translators, and then I went from translating 20 hours a day to editing and proofreading and teaching and training 20 hours a day, which wasn't that much better. It was from the frying pan into the fire first.
Yeah.
But it's because I didn't have a process. I now have that process, but during that time is when this process got invented, which is where we're going to turn the proverbial corner. So basically what I did, I trained them, and then I said, okay, I need to fire myself from the role of translator. Because what happened is people were still coming to me with all the questions. And this is in every business, right? You stop doing something, everybody's coming to you with questions.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, this isn't going to work because my business is 24/7.
Yeah.
I need to sleep at some point, right? So I trained them, and then I trained the other proofreaders, because eventually it's like I'm not the only translator genius in the world, right? And even if we recognize that, we're worried that our clients will notice. The clients just wanted the translation. Didn't matter, right? So they wanted the relationship with me, but if I did the translation, it didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I then fired myself and I said, okay, this is not me answering proofreading questions anymore. Send that to the proofreader. Do that. I'm not going to look at it.
Yeah.
And that was a really pivotal moment. I want to just stay here for a second because the psychology behind saying no and the fear of that is often what holds us back to scale the business to the next step. So I remember I was standing there, I finally had some freedom. My translators were trained, my proofreaders were done. I was about to go to the gym and have coffee with my friend. And I walked into my office and my project manager says, "Hey, Michèle, before you go, can you just look at this real quick? Real quick. It's only going to take a minute." And everything in my body was just like, no. Like every cell was just screaming, no, I don't want to. And it was hard to say no because, and then he went on. It's like, well, it's so silly. It's only 3 sentences. By the time I send this to the editor, it takes me way longer. Just look at it.
Yeah.
And I stuck with my no. And he was very upset with me. But the reason I stuck with the no, and it's important for the journey of firing yourself for the next job, I was no longer a translator.
Yeah.
I was no longer a proofreader. I was now responsible for bringing in revenue to keep all of the translators and proofreaders and editors busy.
Yes.
That was my new job description. And in that moment where I was questioning, do I just do this or do I not? Having the knowledge of that is not what I'm doing anymore made it easier for me to say no.
Yes.
But what I also realized in that moment, I had changed my job, but I hadn't told anybody.
Okay.
Because CEOs, we don't have a job description.
No.
We do whatever we want. Even if of course, if we're a hired CEO, that's different. But as a founder, I would say less than 10% have a job description. So we don't know. So we decide to do something else and we don't tell anybody and nobody knows what's happening. And that's also why we can't get out of our business.
Sure.
So I needed to fire myself from being a translator, fire myself from being a proofreader, and introduce the new role of Chief Revenue Officer. That's my job now. And once I communicated that, it was much easier.
Okay. So there was a gap, obviously, between the way that your employees knew you to be and the way that you were choosing to be moving forward. And it just needed a little bit of education.
It did. But you know what? That little bit of education holds so many entrepreneurs back. Like I coach a lot of entrepreneurs and to just say, no, I'm not going to do that. Of course, sure, with an explanation, but it is confusing to the rest of your team. And it creates a lot of guilt for us as entrepreneurs because we kind of subconsciously know that people are thinking different things around what we're doing. And if we just communicate it and say, okay, the business is growing, we're at the next step, this is what I need to be doing, this is what I'm going to focus on, and build a culture where everybody in your organization can work 80% of the time at what they're best at, that's when we scale. That's when we have true freedom. And I believe that's when we have true servant leadership, not just doing what everybody else is doing.
I want to talk to you about the money aspect of it, because I think if you look, especially modern day, a lot of these people are getting into entrepreneurship. They're solopreneurs, at least initially. And you're right, they're taking on almost everything themselves because they simply feel they cannot afford to bring on that extra help, right? So walk me through, how do you get to the point of offboarding when you are a solopreneur? Maybe you've been at this for 5 years. You know what you're doing. You have somewhat systems and processes, but you haven't brought anybody on board yet. And you're wondering, how do I even make that feasible right now? Walk me through that, because I'm sure you went through that.
I did go through that, and I walk my clients through that exercise, big or small, almost every day. So the number one thing, and I'm going to speak specifically to your solopreneur question right now, because it's a little bit different when you have a bigger team, right?
Sure.
But if it's just you, and again, also very different in this day and age than it was for me, because there's AI now, right?
Sure.
But as a solopreneur, the first thing you want to do is get really clear on everything that you do. Write yourself a job description. Go by sales, marketing, operations, whatever, product, whatever you're doing, and write down everything that you're responsible for, which is everything in your business, ironically. But,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But here's why this is important. Then you go look and you say, okay, what lights me up? And what has the most impact and value for the business? But first, just one step. What do I love about this list? What do I love? If I had to do it for free, I would still do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that clarity also then creates a list of things that you want to offboard. And you can't offboard everything. Even if you're not a solo entrepreneur, you can't offboard everything at once. You have to go piece by piece, right? Because if you think about your company as a ship, maybe it's a pirate ship, I don't know. But, if you come back as the captain, okay, now we're going to do this and we're going to change this and we're going to change this. And the boat starts going like this and people start jumping overboard or getting seasick, right?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of keep that team in mind. And it's the same for the solopreneur, right? You can't just leave those things because they need to be done. But many times we go in circles and are turning our wheels in place because we're trying to do everything and the priorities don't match up with what our superpowers are. Everybody, like in business, you read all the books. I mean, I have like so many books behind me. I've learned from many, many great leaders. And the thing is, knowing what it is that you're great at and then finding a way to offboard the rest of it. And it doesn't have to be at once. So for solo entrepreneurs today, if you do nothing after this podcast, write down everything that is on your plate and look at what is it that I love, what is it that I absolutely loathe, or I'm bad at, and it probably takes me 5 times as long to do it, and I'm procrastinating for weeks. We all do that, right?
Yeah.
Get clear on what that is. And then also look at, do I still need to be doing this? Because one of the things as solo entrepreneurs, as entrepreneurs in general, but as solo entrepreneurs, it's even worse because we don't have a team to give us feedback. Okay. So if I'm working with my team, I kind of know what else I can put on their plate and they will tell me. It's like, do you want that in this quarter or next quarter? Because it's not going to fit in this quarter unless you give this up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which your team should be telling you.
That's right. Yeah.
But when you're a solo entrepreneur and you have all these amazing ideas, guess whose plate they go on? Yours. And you don't want to take them off because you're excited. And then we think we can do everything at once.
Yes.
Right? So the priorities sometimes look like everything's a priority. Focus on what is it that I really love doing? And then secondly, how much value does this activity bring to the business? Because if I'm an admin person, I might love doing spreadsheets for 3 hours. Okay. But how much value does that bring to the business? Could I pay somebody $100 and have them do it maybe in an hour?
Yeah.
And I can now go talk to customers. So getting clear on what you love, what your superpower is, and what value does it bring for the business? Because that's your job as the founder, as a solopreneur, not to tick every single box for every idea you've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love what you said about we get excited.
Yeah.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. And sometimes it really works out. And sometimes it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. You end up in a train wreck because you're going 6 different directions at once, right?
Exactly.
But I would argue that excitement about an idea for me has been both a superpower and a curse at times.
Yes,
right? Like if I look at my latest show, I got super excited about it really quick. We had the show out in 3 months. It's become a hit. It's awesome. But I don't know, like it's one of those things where that one worked out, but there's been things on like the business development side of things that I got excited about and then it flopped.
Right.
And it's like you just don't know which way it's going to go sometimes.
That's the beautiful thing of being an entrepreneur is that we actually get to try.
Yeah.
We get excited and we try and then we fail.
Yeah.
Right? But
yeah.
It's much easier to fail at something that you're not, or much harder, like worse, to fail at something that one you're not good at because now you're like, okay, maybe it's a personal challenge, but you really don't like it, but you think you should, right? and then also having to drag your feet through it. So, and as solo entrepreneurs, sometimes we're like dogs with a bone. Like, we know it's a bad idea and we know that we don't love it. But now that we've gone down the path, we're going to keep going down the path. And that also can get us in trouble.
So walk me through, because I think maybe one of the challenges, and it's funny because I actually just talked about this morning inside Catalyst Club. So it's funny how it just kind of synchronicity comes back. But I feel like clarity on a direction is really critical, right? Because I think as an entrepreneur, we find ourselves with 8 ideas, not always knowing which one is the one we want to chase, exclusively, let's call it.
Right.
And then we end up failing because we didn't put enough effort into the thing that would have mattered.
Right. 100%. And that's why that question is like, what matters the most to the business and what matters the most to me?
Yeah.
That is, you can still fail. But if you have those 2 things, if it matters, you're going to put more passion into it. You're going to put more energy into it. If you love it and it has high value for the business, you're far more likely to succeed than if you say, well, I got to do this because all the other businesses are doing this. So now I have to do this and I'm going to do that. And I actually hate it. And you do that with 3 different things. Well, all your energy is just going to go into this big delta with no channel for it to go.
Yeah. So I want to talk with you about that. So if you're advising on a company and you're looking at their service offerings and suddenly you're seeing like, why in the world do you have 15 service offerings, right?
Right.
What kind of advice do you give these companies when you're working with them? Because I'm sure this is something you come across quite a bit where you look at a company and you're like, you're supposed to be doing this one thing. Why are you over here? And you see this all over the place because they got asked to do it once or whatever. And now it's a service, right? When you're working with a company, how many service offerings in your mind, and I get that it's different, but if you were just advising on, let's call it a small firm, 15 employees or so, how many service offerings should they really have?
Maybe we can just tweak the question just a little bit, because I don't think it's about the number of Actually, it is, because if you have too many, you're going to spread yourself thin and you're not going to focus, right? I think the real question is, how do you maximize the service offerings that you started your business for? Because what I see again and again and again is it's taking, and it's human, it's natural, right? It's taking a little bit too long to get that first service offering there, and your cash flow is maybe low, but this is what you're really passionate about. But then you have another idea, or somebody comes to you with something else and you need the money and you have the capability. And right, as entrepreneurs, we say yes.
Yes.
So it is really easy, right? And that's what I'm saying. It's not about the number. It's really easy, one, for us to get excited about something.
Yeah.
Really easy for us to say yes, because we're going to build the parachute on the way down. After we jump, that's what we do. We figure it out. So that's easy. We say yes. We say yes. We say yes, right? And then eventually it becomes diluted, but every yes is an opportunity. It's like almost every service offering is a different business.
Yeah.
And if you're already working full time in your business, like it really, the other thing that makes it very difficult, it's confusing for your client.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest problem, actually.
That is the biggest problem. And it makes it almost impossible to state your value proposition unless all of your 15 services serve one outcome, which then it doesn't matter how many services, because you're selling the outcome.
Yes.
And it's related. But if you have, like, so for us, it would have been translation. Then we could have done interpreting. Then we could have done voiceover. Then we could have done all of these things. And we could have done it for every single industry. Okay? And so I'm going to answer your question right now, because every industry that does business globally needs translation.
That's right.
Basically, everybody was our client, right?
Yeah.
And so getting the ICP right for your service offering is really important. Okay, everybody. Okay, great. How do I market to them? And so what we did, and this is a way to kind of reduce the number of service offerings without guessing, we looked at our top 20% of clients that brought us 80% of revenue. We looked at how quickly do they pay? What do we charge them? What's our margin? A very margin-driven business in the service industry.
Yep.
And how easily can we get more of those? Okay? And once we looked at what those numbers are, so if you have 10 or 15 service offerings, and I've worked through this with clients, look at each of your offerings, look at your revenue, look at your margin, look at how passionate you are about it, right? Because sometimes a new service offering is great. You discover a whole new niche and you didn't know was already there.
Yeah.
But the numbers have to work. And we like to forget about numbers when we're really excited and passionate about an idea.
Yes.
Right? Yes, of course we do. But at some point, we need to look at it and say, okay, what's my most profitable service? And within that service, who's my really most profitable client? And at the beginning, when we start, sometimes we do have more services because we don't know yet. We're trying out.
Yes.
But we can't stay that way is the most important thing.
So that's the thing. We can't stay there. Because I
right.
think many of these companies, when they start out, especially solopreneurs, especially people who are coming from an executive role, right? They know what they know.
Yeah.
And so they're hopping in and they're doing their best and they're trying to understand where they fit in the market.
Right.
And when they're experimenting to figure that out, they're coming up with 6, 8, 12 services to try out. But what you're saying is at some point you have to offboard those services for the one that truly is working for you.
Exactly. And if you have 2 or 3 that are really working for you well, put a manager or a COO in the other 2 and run all 3, but be clear about the numbers and be clear because it's easy. It's hard to let go of things for us humans, right?
Oh man,
especially if we've created it and now created these 15 service offerings, and now I'm like, yeah, but they're still making 10K a year. Yeah, but the other one is making 100K. So. I was like, yeah, but I can't just, yes, you can. That would be my answer. Yes, you can.
Oh my gosh.
Or bundle it and hire somebody else to do it.
I resonate with this so much right now because we actually shut down a show this year. So we had done one. It was a LinkedIn live show called Authentic Hustle. It was me and Colin Harms and Vijay Swaminathan. And we were having so much fun. Honest to God, it was like therapy session for Kelly every week where we could come on and have a great conversation, have fun. But nobody listened. It wasn't a successful show. It was great for us, but it wasn't a successful show, right? And so it was kind of one of those things where it was really hard to let it go because we'd invested 60 episodes into the show. We'd had a lot of fun with it along the way. But yeah, we had to make the hard choice to say like, this was great, appreciate you, but we're not going to be doing this anymore. But here's the thing, Michèle, that gap, when that was open, left room for me to start to experiment and try something new. And we just launched a show called I Used to Work There. That show's got over 50,000 downloads in under 4 months.
Right.
So that show is very successful, and I couldn't have gotten there had I not made the space.
Exactly. And we fail, we learn. Like, we're not like entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, I failed. It's like, oh, now, woe is me. I mean, yes, it sucks. And of course, we're humans and we cry and it sucks and we're scared. But we always take those lessons and say, okay, what do we do differently now?
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of said, it's like, it's not necessarily about how many it depends on which stage you're at, right? Maybe you're still playing this out, but you do have to decide, you do have to figure out where your superpower is and then learn from what doesn't work, but letting go is hard.
Yeah. And I think I want to speak to business today, right? Because I want to speak to it with you because you've been so successful at this over the past, 2 decades. I feel like now...
Thanks for that. It's been 3 decades. I appreciate you.
I'm sorry. I'm just putting the accolades where they are, Michèle.
Thank you.
And you've worked with so many executive teams. You've seen it, right? You've seen it over a long period of time. And now we're kind of dealing with this weird space where I feel like looking at the future and just saying, I can do business development, for instance, the same way I've done it for the last 10 years.
Nope.
That's out the window.
Gone.
So what does that mean for businesses now? Because I think there was a time when, for instance, translation, there were things along the way, and I'm sure your business evolved over time, but as computers became more prevalent, as the internet happened, things like that. But the job of interpretation, pretty much the same, right? We still had to interpret, between 2 different languages and get it to people on time, right?
Right.
The tools we did it maybe changed. What does that mean as we head into 2027 and the world feels like it's flipping on its head every 6 months?
Wow. Okay. I love this topic. So many different questions in that one thing. So
I apologize.
no, don't. I'm just like, which one do you want me to answer first? Like,
I think
what is the outlook?
how does a company plan for the future or evolve their offerings when, like I said, it feels like the whole world and what the world wants is changing so quickly as AI advances? Maybe is the better question.
Yeah. Okay. It's all in there, and I'll hopefully touch on all of it a little bit. So, number one, just an example from the translation industry, because you brought it up, is like, I have coaching clients. I've been in that industry forever. I know a lot of people. And what I'm hearing and sensing is like, of course, we've always been one of the first adopters. Like, I'll tell you, I was building LLM. Well, not me. My team, we're building LLMs, large language models, for our clients more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
We were working with machine translation and training the models on the client's material so that the output would be according to their style guides and all of those things. So why am I telling you this? We can look at something and see it as a threat. And there's always dangers in everything, right? Yeah. And we can look at it, where's the opportunity? Okay, great. Captain Obvious, everybody knows that. But when we look at AI right now and we look at just technology development, I started my business with a fax machine pre-internet in 1993.
And that was high tech at the time, I'm sure. I'm sure you were ahead of the curve even then.
I was, because nobody dared do business globally like that. No.
Yeah.
So my point is this: if you're looking at what's happening, I always prefer to look at opportunities that nobody else is seeing, which of course is easy to say. But the AI, I feel, for the clients, they don't care if a real human translator does this or if AI does this, as long as the result is what they want.
Yes.
And so I say to my clients in the language industry, it's like, why are you panicking? Doesn't matter. If the client wants to do translation themselves, they're going to do translations themselves. Let them play with AI. They're going to figure out that, yes, some of it works and some of it doesn't, but they still have to have that human touch and they still have to pay somebody for that.
Yeah.
So you can still produce that same outcome. What does the client want? Peace, ease, good quality, reliability, speed, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you just amplify. You can now do it faster. Okay. You might need to change your pricing model completely. Okay, fine. So looking at when the internet came up, everybody was scared. Oh my God, credit cards online. Oh no. So when we look at this curve, what makes it different now, if you follow Peter Diamandis et al., he had a really great talk where he talks about the exponential curve. And what before took 10, 20, 30 years is now going to take a year and eventually a couple of months, and it'll be instant.
Yeah.
So there's no way anybody can know what's going to happen.
No.
And I work on mindset a lot too. And if we say, okay, now I have to catch up with everybody else, otherwise I'm going to be behind in AI. Maybe, but don't catch up for the sake of catching up. So back to that initial conversations, that get clear on what you love and what you want to do and what you don't want to do, or what is too much. Use AI, train AI like you would an employee, because now you have the advantage of being able to get 10 things done at once that would have taken you a year before.
Yes.
You can test quickly. You can fail faster. You can get results faster. You can create new things faster, which would have cost you a fortune and a team and a lot of time. Okay. So look at it, not would be my advice, because I think that's what you asked, is like, I always say, don't look at it as, okay, there's this big thing coming at us. There's every single day we wake up, there's this big thing called life coming at us.
Yeah. Coming at you like a freight train.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But we don't go to bed and worry about, am I going to be hit by a freight train tomorrow?
That's right.
We deal with life because we're resourceful and we're resilient. So I feel like as long as whatever's happening is focused to bring an advantage to your life and to your business and not hurt anybody, of course, that's always implied.
Yeah.
Then focus on that. Like I have so many people who are overwhelmed and now I need to know, how do you do this? And I know, and I made these videos with, hey, Jen, and look at this. And I'm like, what for?
Yeah.
Does it serve your business? Well, no, but I need to understand AI. If you want to understand AI and understand how it serves your business and your life, and who knows, maybe in 6 months, we'll have, humanoid robots cleaning our house. I don't know. I'll deal with it when it gets there. But what I do know right now, when we're mindful in the present moment, is how do I harness this to make my life and my business and my family's and my employees' business better?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, it's just ego. It's just ego. Oh, I'm an AI expert now too.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And how is that helping you in your life and your business?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Couple things that I want to touch on. One thing first, then I want to move it back to the ego side. So the one thing I want to touch on is the fact that it kind of seems like everything from your side, you kept going back to what value does it have for your business? What value are you showing to your client or providing to your client? It doesn't really matter how you provide that value, just that you ultimately provide value to your client equal to what they expect, one way or another.
Exactly.
As long as you're doing that, you're going to have clients.
Exactly.
The other side was the ego side, which is interesting because I wanted to talk about social media with you and obviously just getting out there in general because, and I get it. I understand that there was a time before and relationships were still very critical and we went about them in a completely different way. But now it kind of feels like, and it's funny, I get this. I'm a podcaster who I get frustrated at the fact that we need to do so much on social media, frankly. I feel like it's the job none of us signed up for. And because none of us signed up for this job, we're all trying to figure out how to do it. And one of the examples that I'm going to give you is like lately I'm scrolling LinkedIn and I'm looking at all these posts and I'm just wondering like, why in the world, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
For instance, there was a guy talking about life lessons he learned from a plant growing through a crack in a sidewalk. And I'm like, did you really look at this crack in the sidewalk at this plant and it impacted you so much you had to write a post about it? And my argument would be no.
Maybe. I mean, I do crazy stuff like that, so I'm going to go with maybe. Sorry, I know you're making a point, but I posted a picture in my family WhatsApp chat sitting on my rooftop, and I see these kids mowing the lawn, and it's a long park.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, and it's like, why are they going this way? Why are they not going that way? And texting it, and I'm thinking, well, what makes us decide what to do in life? So, yes, I'm that crazy person that would look at the flower from the crack, and my kids totally made fun of me. She's like, Mom, does it matter? I'm like, I don't know. Sorry, I totally derailed.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
It was too good.
I'm not saying there's not always a lesson there. Yeah. What I'm saying is I think there's a lot of people grasping at straws, simply trying to post something for the sake of posting something, right? And I guess I just kind of wonder at what point, where's the equilibrium? Because I think we're trying to get attention online. We're trying to bring attention to what we're doing or who we are or what we're building in one way or another. But I think none of us have the roadmap on how to do this. And I think we're all just trying different things. But I find myself getting more and more frustrated with, I don't want to post just to post. I'm sick of that.
No,
I'm sick of it.
I get that. And everybody's sick of it, right? So couple of things to your point. I love this topic. Number one, I think that you talked earlier and you do business development as well, right?
Yeah, I do.
And you said that the way we did it 10 years ago is not the way we do it today, right?
Correct.
10 years ago, I could call a client and pick up the phone. Nobody answers their phone anymore. You can't call anybody anymore.
You're epically good at leaving voicemails these days.
That nobody responds to. And so again, coming back to the purpose and the value, why am I doing this? And so this is going to be the business answer, and then I'll do my little personal take on it as well. But the business answer is this. How many clients am I looking to add to my business? Not just revenue. And by the way, that's a bit of an aside that a lot of people get wrong, and I just want to address it quickly.
Okay.
They say, okay, I want to add $1 million in revenue. Okay, then they hire salespeople and put the goal, $1 million in revenue.
But what does it mean?
What does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're not giving instructions. So again, the clarity and the purpose and the value. How much does each of those clients pay me for a year? So what's the lifetime value of that client?
Yes.
So if on average they're spending $50,000 a year, then I only need 20 new clients to get to my $1 million. Doesn't that sound a heck of a lot easier?
I love that you're saying this because whenever I'm coaching business development, I do the same thing. I tie it to how many meetings do we need because there's statistics.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So if I know I need 20 clients that fit that ICP, that bring me about 50,000 a year. Yeah. What's my close rate? How many do I have to talk to?
What's the number? How many people you got to talk to?
What's the number? How many do I need? Right? Numbers. And as entrepreneurs, sometimes we don't love the numbers unless it's revenue and profit, and we don't look at everything in between with the same energy, right? Okay, talking about social media. What do I need? If I need 20 clients, or if I need 10 clients, or I need 100 clients, that should drive my marketing strategy. I don't believe, and it's different if you're building a brand. So I build a brand and I do my marketing. Now, for the brand, yes, I believe you need to post much, much, much more. Also, what I'm finding is there's so much, people are not just getting tired of having to post. People are getting tired of reading everybody's posts.
Yes. I found myself there this weekend.
It's like, I don't want to hear about the flower coming through the crack. And my family doesn't want to hear about which way to mow the lawn. Like, nobody cares. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. However, if we can then go and say, okay, if we're looking for 10 or 20 clients, who are these clients? And I think it's business development and marketing is going to take a step backwards in time for the better, where everybody's tired of ads on Facebook and Insta. And it's useful if it's curated for you and you're looking for something, but then you need 2 days to just clean up your algorithm because you went online shopping for a vacuum cleaner. I feel like the connection on a human level now is going to come back. Maybe people aren't going to start answering their phones, but this trust recession where everybody's an expert with no knowledge behind it, where anybody can sell a $10,000 8-week course, you don't know them, right?
Yeah.
So it just dilutes it for everybody else who actually really has a proper business. And I think everybody's feeling that. So I'm actually very focused on what I do with my brand. It's a little bit more educational. I want to give people things that they can learn and they can implement right away, like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And really just using like a lot of the personal connections and having those conversations, like making the calls. When I sold my business in 2019, perfect timing, by the way, and then 2020, of course, right? So I am now, okay, I'm free. I want to coach entrepreneurs. I just booked my calendar full of people that I knew and had one-on-one Zooms, which was easy because everybody was bored and everybody had time to talk on Zooms.
Yeah.
But now I think it's shifting more again to in-person. But to build that trust is almost impossible with just the fluffy stuff that's up there. Because I think you're right. Everybody's sick of it. You're sick of posting it. And I think the really good brands are going to create value in what they do, whether it's a YouTube channel or whether it's they're not just going to run ads and make statements. And I think that is where it shifts, where we get more of the expert level pushed a little bit more. So I think the experts are unfortunately first going to have to do more.
Yeah.
Like your podcast, like a YouTube channel. People need to get to know you, need to get to see your content. And I think where people even 2-3 years ago were buying from an ad from somebody they didn't know, that barely happens now because it's so saturated.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely seeing ad performance decrease.
Yeah. So saturated. Yeah. And it's because we need the human element. First, we had Corona, and then through Corona, and then AI. And then it's like, where are we? We have to connect with each other. And I think that's where the trend is going to go. Long-winded answer to your question. Like we were just exploring this, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like it. I agree with you completely. I think, like you said, we're getting advertised out, period, on all fronts. We're sick of being advertised to, right?
Yeah.
So in a time of AI, I always say in a time of AI and robots, find a way to be human. So we agree completely on
100%.
that. How do we do that? So like, what advice are you giving to executives right now on how to build business through authenticity?
You all have networks. You all have a following. Go nurture those conversations and go ask. I've reached out. I have not next week. I have a lot of calls just with people from my network, catching them up with what I'm doing, learning what they're doing. Maybe I need their service. Maybe I can refer them, but maybe they need my help, or maybe they know somebody who does. And obviously that's not a repeatable and scalable business model, but it is a start to kind of shift that over and then build what you're doing, a community around the people that you know and trust.
Yeah.
And who know and trust you. And I think that noise is going to go away because the people who are putting offerings out there that don't deliver, which is sadly a lot, they're not going to make it. Eventually, they're going to go away, right? So then once you have your network and you have reactivated a lot of those things, think about it. If you only need 20 clients, how many people do you really need to talk to? Like, do we need to do all of this thing beyond brand?
Oh my gosh, yeah. How much are we doing way too much of the wrong thing for?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the value? What's the purpose? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
If you're wanting to build a brand, do all the activities to build a brand, create real value, educate people, train people, give them free content because that is what you love doing.
Yeah.
But
it sounds so simple, but we seem to be getting so sidetracked.
Because there's so much everywhere. And then I see this, like the guilt sometimes when you have your Alex Hormozi or, Dan Martell or Gary Vee or whoever's on your feed, right? And then you have some other ones. It's like, do this. I ditched this program and now I'm a millionaire sitting in my pool, right? So a lot of times, in addition to it being too much noise, I'll share something with you. Have you ever mistaken that input from people you admired and not realized that they're not even talking to you? What do I mean by that? Right? Because it can stress us out. It's like, okay, Mel Robbins says, I love Mel Robbins, right?
Yeah.
Mel Robbins says this and, the people I follow. And then, then you're scrolling. It's like, I'm not doing that. I should do more of that. Why am I not doing that? I have all these ideas. I need to implement and boom, anxiety.
Yeah. Now, how in the world am I going to do this?
She's not even talking to me because I've already done it.
Yeah.
I've already done it. She's talking to people 20, 30 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Or 10 years younger than me, whatever it is. But I'm listening as if my mom is telling me what to do. And we don't talk about that.
No.
But the guilt and the anxiety that comes from overindulging in inspiration almost, because then we get the feeling that everybody's on 24/7 and they're all hustling and even me who is the anti-hustler, find an easier way, offboard yourself. I found myself feeling guilty for not doing things I had offboarded. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, he's not even talking to me. And also I don't agree with what he's saying here.
Yeah. You never thought rationally about it in the moment. You were just receiving.
Yeah. And when we do that a lot, that also creates a lot of overwhelm.
Yeah. I found myself lately really wanting to read more, to just simply detune completely and pick up a book.
Agreed. And that's what I'm doing now. The other thing that I'm doing, because I'm also an artist and I'm not a disciplined journaler, but I am visual and I like to just draw things out or map things out. So that's what I do. And sometimes at the end of the day, I'll sit in my patio, whatever, have a glass of wine. And instead of my iPad or my phone, I'll have my little notebook, not just for the intention. Sometimes I don't write anything.
Yeah.
But just if a thought comes, I can write it down, and it also makes it easier. Because here's another thing I used to do. I think we all do it, entrepreneurs. Okay, I have an idea. Okay, ChatGPT, here's the idea. Blah, 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 blah. And then ChatGPT goes, "Oh, that is a great idea. You are a
How
genius.
did you come up with this?"
Right? And of course, yes, we can. And of course, we can change the prompts, but still, right? But what happens is it makes it too big, and we go down too far in that down that rabbit hole. Versus if I'm just writing it on a piece of paper, and I can go later because I'm not going to take time to write a whole business plan, whereas Claude or ChatGPT will.
Yeah.
And now it's become real. And now I feel committed that I have to do this, and my stress level goes up. Versus paper is patient. Paper is patient. You can put everything down on paper and go look back at it and say, was this a good idea?
Yeah.
Before you go to AI and have it map out the whole business plan.
And there's something specifically about writing things down that is powerful with the mind-body connection.
Yeah, exactly. So I know I went to a lot of places, but just to bring this back, I think it's one, focus on what your business needs, focus on what your life needs first and your business, right? Because they're all together. We don't stop living when we go to work.
Yes.
We don't. And especially as entrepreneurs, we don't, because we're still thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, right? So what serves to make my life most joyful and happy that I can have a great impact on my family, on my team, on the world if we want to go that big. But it is a ripple effect if we think about it.
The reality is there's a worldwide audience listening to you right now.
Oh, that's true. I know. I was like, half of your listeners are somewhere else in the world, which I love.
Yeah. I think only 15 or 17% of our entire audience is in Canada. The rest is worldwide.
That is amazing. It's funny, when I sold my company, which was global from day one with the fax machine, as you knew, I was traveling all the time. I'm like, okay, well, now I'll do coaching, and, I don't have to travel everywhere. I can just go where I want to go, which I kind of did anyway. But I wasn't intent on building a global business again. But now I have coaching clients on 5 continents.
Wow.
And I'm speaking, I started speaking. So now I'm still traveling everywhere. And it's somehow global is just in my blood. I can't help it.
Well, that's a great place to segue, Michèle, into your executive advisory. Bring us into, obviously you have a book, you have a company. Tell us a bit about The Art of Offboarding, your book, and then let's lead into your advisory services, please.
The inspiration behind writing this book was, of course, that I created this whole methodology and I lived it, and I worked 4 to 10 hours a week for about 15 years before I sold the business. And because of that, I also got a much higher multiple and an all cash, no earnout, full price of the offer exit.
Wow.
Which is rare, especially for a company we weren't 100 million or anything like that, but our EBITDA was much higher. And so then, of course, I've been in entrepreneur circles forever, and people said, I want what you have. Can you teach me how to have your company run without you and still scale faster and be successful and get a good exit? And so I'm like, okay. So I started writing the book about it and documenting the process because, like I said, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. Actually, I've never actually had a job.
Wow.
Ever.
You're one of maybe 4 or 5 people that I've interviewed that have said that out of hundreds. So that's pretty incredible.
Ever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll write this book. And then I started coaching entrepreneurs. So it all happened naturally because what I did, I guess other people wanted, right? That's how business works. You have something that is of value to other people.
Yeah.
And so now I'm a global speaker. I speak in front of professional audiences, entrepreneurs, congresses, all of those different things. I actually just for the 2nd year taught at MIT.
So cool.
For the Entrepreneur Masters program. But the disclaimer is it's not put on by MIT. It's just on their premises. Just got to do all the legal stuff right. Yes. And so now I have an executive advisory. I work with clients one-on-one, very limited, few people. And then I also have group coaching where I teach the content of the book with weekly support by me on the implementation. So that's my business now.
Amazing. And Michèle, where can we get your book?
It is on Amazon. I'm pretty sure we'll send you the link and you can put it in the show notes. Also on my website, obviously it has a link there too, but I think the direct Amazon link is just probably easier if somebody wants to read more about it.
Perfect. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to get this book, you want to get a hold of Michèle, there's going to be the links in the show notes below, as well as the links to her website to learn a little bit more about Michèle. And obviously, if you've been listening to this for our full hour, you saw she's pretty powerful. She knows some stuff. So totally worth getting in touch. Michèle, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for your time today.
Amazing. I just want to add one more thing beyond the book. If one of your listeners does want to learn more, I do have a new group cohort starting here, coming up soon. So they can just email me or book a time with me. The calendar link is going to be in, I think, your show notes.
Yes.
So if you just want to have a quick chat with me, feel free to book a time. I always open my calendar after I do a podcast, after it airs, so that I have time to actually serve the community better.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. Then obviously you're fairly easy to find on LinkedIn as well. We'll also have that in the show notes.
Sounds great. And Kelly, I am so grateful to be on your show. I do a lot of these podcasts and they're always fun, but this was exceptionally fun. Like we were already laughing before we even started going on this podcast. So thank you for brightening my day, everybody's day. You have a beautiful, infectious, happy energy. So thank you for letting me join you in that today.
You are exceptional, Michèle. The honor and privilege was 100% mine. And, I'm going to mention one other thing before we close up today. Super cool. Michèle is actually coming to Catalyst Club. And if you're hearing this on the day of release, Michèle is probably also teaching us right now the art of offboarding inside the Catalyst Club community. So if you want to have that kind of one-on-one time with her, please come hang out with us, Catalyst Club. There's going to be obviously a recording of that discussion, along with 40 plus other recordings of other sessions we've done. So lots to learn there. Come check it out, kellykennedyofficial.com. Michèle, once again, incredible. You're incredible. Thanks for your time.
Lovely, Kelly. Thank you so much. You have a great start to your week.
You as well.
Hopefully, so does everybody else.
So does everybody. Exactly. Until next time, you've been listening to the Business Development Podcast, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.